This is Haystack Help Radio on KLZ 560 The Source. Haystack Help Radio is powered by HaystackHelp.com. Finding help can be like finding a needle in a haystack, but with HaystackHelp.com, finding the needle just got a lot easier.
Welcome to Haystack Help Radio. My name is Scott Whatley. Our number is 303-477-5600. We want to thank you for joining us today. Our website, HaystackHelp.com, is where you'll find great companies to do business with. We have a help box there if you send us your questions. Or maybe you need help finding a good company. We will help you do that. Our helpline is 303-333-HELP. That's 303-333-4357. And you can call that number anytime, but we're hoping you'll give us a call today on the show, and hopefully we can help you in some way. Well, let's get to our first guest, and that is Bonnie Bowles. Bonnie, how are you?
I'm great, Scott. How are you?
I am well, thank you. And Bonnie is an attorney here in Denver, and we have her on quite a bit because she covers a lot of great topics, and going to talk a little bit about estate planning today, Bonnie. And how's the last few weeks, the people that are coming to your office, what are most of those calling you for and coming in for?
Well, because we do a lot to reach out to the community of growing families, we have a lot of people who really have guardianship of their minor kids at the forefront of their mind.
Right.
So guardianship is always a big topic. Really, and with the holidays coming up, it seems to be kind of even more of a thought than what we've seen at other times of the year, which makes sense. It's very family-oriented this time of year. But at the same time, we also have, of course, after we talk about guardianship, how do we make sure the assets are protected too?
Sure. And, this would be a great time of year to get a good plan together where you can go into next year knowing and feeling confident that you've got a good plan for your family. So we hope you'll listen real close to all the points Bonnie's going to talk about, and then we'll certainly give her information throughout the segment with her.
And actually, we are, you might want to put estate planning as maybe a New Year's resolution down on your list. And we're actually submitting an article that will be published coming up here pretty soon in Colorado Parents Magazine about New Year's resolutions and estate planning.
Oh, that ought to be number one for everybody. Yeah. Make a plan. That would be good. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about, estate planning and, what you need to know about estate planning, including why you need a will and assigning a power of attorney. So what would you say would be, and not that any of these are in any specific order, but what would be number one for you there?
Well, really, if you think about, how can I get ahead of estate planning? What is involved in that process? Kind of the first hurdle mentally is understanding that everyone has an estate, whether it's something as simple as a pocket watch you inherited from your grandfather, or, maybe you don't have a whole lot in liquid assets, but you've got a life insurance policy that would have a lot of cash available for your heirs. Everyone needs a basic estate plan as soon as they turn 18. That's when they legally become an adult. If something happens to them at that point in time because they're an adult, if they don't have a plan, then somebody in their family has to go to the probate court and navigate that process if you don't otherwise have a way to make it really easy and seamless for your family.
Okay. And, and I think that is something that a lot of people think, I don't have much, so they don't think. So what you're saying is no matter what your net worth is, it's important to have at least a basic plan.
Yes, exactly, because it's not just about net worth, although even if you don't have much net worth, you still need to make sure that what you do have goes to who you would want. But it's also about medical decision-making. If something happens to you and you're incapacitated, that's where estate planning can help your family really be able to step in an emergency with no hiccups if you've got that laid out regarding your medical decision-making. And it also matters if you're a parent of minor children, because how those kids are going to be taken care of in an emergency and then ultimately raised by who you would want has to be laid out in an estate plan. Otherwise, you have the default rule, which is the probate court process, having to make decisions for you where you didn't as a parent ahead of time.
Right. And we talk about an estate plan. A plan usually has several steps in it. So what all would an estate plan, I guess elements may be a word or different points, what would be the elements that a proper estate plan would have?
That's a really good question, because I do free talks for parents all around Denver, about 4 a month. And before I even get into the nuts and bolts of estate planning, I tell them up front, okay, when I use the phrase estate planning, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. because a lot of people, not a lot, but every now and then we'll get a call or email where somebody will say, I need a will, how much does it cost?
Mm-hmm.
And I get to talking to them. Are you married? Do you have minor children? Do you own your home? Do you own investment properties? Do you own a business? Do you have kids? Do you have life insurance, retirement? Are your parents still living? So you've got an anticipated inheritance. And what we presume ultimately conclude every time is estate planning involves so much more than a will. A will is important, but it's just one of the elements or one small piece of the larger puzzle that is estate planning. So you need a will, but really more than that, you need your powers of attorney outlining, okay, who's going to be in charge of my finances, who's in charge of my medical decision-making. You also want to give your family the tool with a living will to figure out when might they need to take you off life support. If you're irreversible terminal, really you're only here still because of the machines. You do a living will to tell your family ahead of time when to pull the plug. Otherwise, they're having to make that decision in what you can imagine is a pretty traumatic and emotional time. So that's part of it, too. And then guardianship, for sure. One of the ways that our firm is different from a lot of other firms is that we treat guardianship very seriously and delicately. We actually don't put guardianship provisions in a will, which is how a lot of attorneys do it, but we find it to be important enough to be a standalone guardianship document, one for the long term, who would raise your kids, one for the short term, what would happen to your kids in an emergency. And for some people, a trust also makes sense. It depends on what your goals are and what life you would envision for your children if, heaven forbid, something happened to you prematurely. So a trust might also be part of your overall estate plan.
Okay. Now, when we talk about a power of attorney, would you suggest having different people being like, let's say one is over the medical, one may be over the financial. Would you recommend that, or do you like the same person being everything?
Well, actually, that's not a guiding factor when I give people advice on thinking of that. To me, you can have the same people or they can be different people. Really what it comes down to is understanding that they're two very different roles.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of who is in your family, who are the kind of small group of people you would be choosing from to begin with, and then who is just ideal for the financial role and who's ideal for the medical role. Because maybe someone who can handle the emotions on the medical side can't balance a checkbook. So they shouldn't be handling the finances. And maybe the person who can balance the checkbook is a total wreck in emotional situations. So you wouldn't want them as the medical. So really, whether they're the same person is not really the driving factor. It's just thinking about the roles separately and deciding who's best for those roles.
You might want them to be different because if the one person is over the medical and the other person's over the financial, they might want to go, pull the plug, we get the money.
There'll be more for me down the road.
Exactly. That's funny. That's funny if I say so myself. Okay. Bonnie's number is 720-266-8190. Her website, willsandwellness.com, and an incredible website, and a lot of companies you can't say that about, but just tons and tons of great information. And so, highly suggest you go to her website, willsandwellness.com. 720-266-8190 is her number. And, I was telling my wife that day, I go, we need to do this with Bonnie because, we need to get a plan. And our kids are older and things like that, but still, we need to get a plan. And so we're definitely going to do that with you as well. But, again, you brought up a good thing is to have a New Year's resolution to get a plan in place this year for next year. And then every few years is when you recommend kind of going through that, right?
Absolutely. So estate planning should not be something that you check off the list once in your life and never look at it again. Because I can tell you for sure that your family and your circumstances will grow and change. The law may change. Tax issues may arise down the road that weren't an issue at the time you did your plan. So what we do with all client families who we help is we sit down every 3 years regardless. And for some clients who choose to be part of our membership program where they want a higher level of ongoing service, we sit down with them every year. Because these clients that we're helping, they're not estate planning attorneys. They don't have it at the forefront of their mind every day like we do. If this circumstance has happened in my life, I need to go call Bonnie. So we're there to remind people, have any of these things happened for you? Because what we found is some people don't even realize that a change in their circumstances or their life actually does prompt a need to update their plan. So it should grow and change with your family, definitely.
All right. This is Haystack Help Radio. We're talking to Bonnie Bowles. Our number is 303-477-5600. If you have any questions, give us a call. But we've got to take a short break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
The number one concern for baby boomers today is financial security. Hi, I'm Dot Mecklenburg. I'm a financial advisor with 43 years of experience and have become the trusted resource for people planning retirement transitions. I want to see that you have enough money to enjoy the lifestyle you love for the rest of your life. For a free consultation, call me today at 303-647-1948. That's 303-647-1948. Or visit us at dotmecklenburg.com. That's DotMechtenberg.com.
Dot Mecklenburg Financial Services is an official company of Haystack Help and an A-plus member of the Better Business Bureau. Securities and advisory services offered through Genios Wealth Management, Inc., member FINRA SIPC.
What could you do with an extra $500, $1,000, or even $1,500 per month? How would that change things for you? Would you buy a new car, pay off bills, or just feel a bit more secure about your retirement? What if I told you there's a way to make your dreams a reality? I'm talking about trading and investing in the market. Now, before you say, oh, that's not for me, just hear me out. I want to invite you to a half-day trading course so you can check this out. I promise you, you'll go away smarter than when you came in. We here at Online Trading Academy sponsor this, and we'll even send you home with a free home study video guide. Your money's doing nothing for you in a CD or mutual fund. Learn how to profit when the market's up or down. Call us now while seats are still available at 303-325-2776. Use offer code radio50. 303-325-2776. That's 303-325-2776.
Have you been involved in an auto accident, slip and fall, or any other personal injury? I'm Kevin Flesh with Flesh Law, and I've been protecting victims' rights for over 17 years. If you want aggressive representation that will get you the money you deserve, then call me at 303-884-1037 or visit my website at fleshlaw.com. That's Flesh, F-L-E-S-C-H. I will give you the personal service you deserve, starting with a free consultation. Call me 303-884-1037 or visit me at fleshlaw.com.
Have you heard about Len Lyle Chevrolet's 2013 Closeout Triple Play? Right now, you get a guaranteed lowest price, guaranteed highest trade-in value, and the lowest interest rates from over 75 lending institutions. Len Lyle Chevrolet, I-225 in East Colfax, or on the web at lenlylechevy.com.
You strive for success every day. Take the time now before tragedy strikes and you can't protect your kids. Ensure they have the guidance they deserve.
I'm attorney Bonnie, and our passion is to make sure parents don't leave it up to a judge who doesn't know your family to decide who raises your children. Without a plan, it could be a nightmare.
I checked out willsandwellness.com, a different kind of law firm. Personal family lawyer Bonnie Bowles helped me design a plan so my daughter would always be cared for by someone I want. Bonnie at willsandwellness.com made the process approachable and welcoming. Check it out, willsandwellness.com.
Hi, I'm bankruptcy attorney Benjamin Yablon, author of The Bankruptcy Guide. If you're overwhelmed by debt, you need to call me today. My direct line is 303-562-3167. Come in today for a free consultation, and your copy of The Bankruptcy Guide is free as well. Once again, 303-562-3167. Or visit my website at yablonlaw.com. That's Y-A-B as in boy, L-O-N as in Nick, and the word law.com. I'm attorney Benjamin Yablon.
Amanda, age 3. Tyler, age 8. Marissa, age 4.5.
We could tell you just how many child abductions last year led to Amber Alerts, but this isn't about cold statistics. It's about saving kids.
Shaniqua, age 14.
To get free Amber Alerts on your cell phone, go to wirelessamberalerts.org. When an alert is issued in your area, you'll receive it as a free text message. wirelessamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Laura Ingraham Show, live mornings at 7 on KLZ 560, The Source.
Welcome back to Haystack Help Radio. My name is Scott Whatley. Our number is 303-477-5600. Our guest is personal family attorney Bonnie Bowles, and we were talking about estate planning. Now, Bonnie, where's a good place to really start when you want to start with your estate planning and everything? So, I mean, I guess trying to figure out what assets you have and define what you would say assets are.
So assets are any of the obvious things. They are bank accounts, retirement accounts, life insurance, your home, and any other real estate. Be sure to include your business as you inventory your assets. So that's a good place to start, is take an inventory of what you have. There actually might be more there than you even realize if you don't actually get it written down. Once you see it on paper, there might be more there than you ever realized once you add in life insurance. Also your tangible property, furniture, artwork, jewelry, your vehicles, and the big thing these days are what we call your digital assets as well, your social media accounts.
Really?
And then,
wow.
Yep. So you want to make sure that part of your inventory of assets, which is really just a list for your family down the road to know what you have so nothing gets overlooked, part of that inventory should include usernames and passwords to all of your online accounts, whether bank accounts or social media or airline miles, that kind of thing.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting. The whole legal arena around digital assets is changing. As you might imagine, that's kind of a growing area of law, and what protections you have or don't have are very state-specific. And some of these companies, like Facebook and bigger, websites like that, they are very protective of their privacy. And so when somebody passes away, you want to make sure that your family definitely knows how to access your account, because sometimes those accounts can be shut down as soon as the company is made aware that somebody's passed away, and you may or may not have rights as the heir to that account. So you want to make sure your family has the tools to access that account at any time.
Right. And so when you're looking through your assets, like you say, to investments, retirement savings, insurance policies, then you got to ask yourself some questions. Who do you want to inherit your assets? So that's pretty easy. And that's what you spell out. And then, who you want handling your financial affairs, not only if you're dead, but if you're incapacitated as well, right?
Absolutely. So if you're incapacitated, that's where your power of attorney comes into play. Once you've passed away, that's where your will or trust comes into play. But it's a very important job, and you really need to trust the person who has stepped into that role. So as you're making those decisions, it's not just about, well, my brother can handle it. If you really truly sit down and think about it, and maybe a family friend is better, then put them in that role, because they're going to make those decisions timely and in a way that honor your wishes.
Right. And the big thing that you want to really get across is everybody needs a will. Yes, everybody needs not just a will. Really, I should say everybody needs an estate plan, right,
which would include, as a basic estate plan, a will, powers of attorney, and your guardianship documents for sure. So everybody 18 and up needs that. And that actually is something that we're doing a wreath as part of our holiday decorating here at our office. And we're part of a wreath contest, and we're having to actually materialize on our wreath who we are as a firm and as a business serving the community. So we really struggled a long time and had to get a little creative, but what we're going with is basically a visualization of everything you might do in life that should prompt you to think, okay, I need to update or review my estate plan. And so one of those is graduating from high school. We're really turning 18. And so that's really the first point. At that point in time, you need to have a will and the powers of attorney. When you have kids, you need to add the guardianship documents to it. When you have assets that your kids will receive when you pass away, you need to consider adding a trust if you want to have prolonged control over the assets, to know what would happen if your kids inherit the assets at a very young age, that you play out for them how to take care of the assets in a responsible way versus having an 18-year-old in charge of the assets on their own. So the wreath contest is actually something really fun that we're working on this week.
Wow, that sounds like...
Yeah. So we've got graduation, engaging in a dangerous sport. I've got rock climbing is what I'm going to use for that one. Having kiddos, traveling with or without the kids, you would want to plan for that. Buying a home, ultimately retiring down the road, all sorts of good things.
Wow. And two, when we talk about estate plans, about the next word most people hear most often is trust. And the point that you've brought out on several shows with us is trust aren't just for the wealthy.
Exactly. That's my mantra. That's my philosophy. Other attorneys have a different view, but my view is that it's not a quantitative question. It's not, do I own enough, whatever that is, or am I old enough, 65 or older, or 10 million in assets or more. To me, it's not a quantitative question. What I like to envision with clients is, let's see what it looks like right now. If something happened to you right now, and because I work with a lot of parents with young children, I walk them through what the probate court looks like for a kid who has assets handled on their behalf by a conservator. Let's see what that looks like. And if there's anything about that process that you don't prefer for your kids, such as the idea that they would get everything at 18, then let's talk about how we can do something different. And that's where a trust comes in. A trust will allow you to say your kids don't get it till a much later date, and they don't even need to be involved in the court process from the get-go. And the reason you might want to avoid the court process is because, frankly, it's a public process. Anyone can see what's out there in the court records and know what ultimately is left to whoever it is at whatever age. And so you want to keep your kids out of that court process if that's a concern for you, and that's where trust comes in. And then the other nice thing about utilizing a trust is if it matters to you whether or not your assets might be frozen for anywhere from 6 to 12 to 18 months through the court process. They're basically put on hold while someone in your family pushes them through or helps them through the court process. And that doesn't have to be the case. So really, whether or not a trust is for you is more of a qualitative question. Do you understand how it works and what it would look like with the trust versus without? And then I feel like you're really making an informed decision as to whether a trust is right for your family.
Sure. Do you recommend discussing your estate plan with heirs?
You know what? I absolutely do. And that's a very personality-sensitive endeavor. But really, the worst time for any surprise or something that's unintended is after you've passed, because then you don't even have the opportunity to explain your mindset. A lot of emotions are happening at that time. So I definitely recommend, in light of the person who you're communicating with about it and their personality and your relationship with them, I definitely recommend a conversation appropriate for the circumstances where you lay out, this is what my plan looks like, and this is my thinking about why I have made these certain decisions. And you would really be surprised in our experience how seriously family members take the comments and views and wishes of someone who is now deceased to heart and really avoid what could potentially be some nasty disputes because you did take the time to have that conversation. And they do want to honor your memory and your wishes.
Right. And, I was looking at your website last night, and I actually printed out something I wanted to ask you about in closing out today's show. Some of the benefits provided under a membership plan that you offer. And
that's a great question.
And so, if you could just maybe talk a few minutes about that.
So we, when we sit down with the family for the first time, we go through and lay out what a foundational estate plan would look like. What can we get into place to make sure, given what we've heard from you or your goals and desires, that we fully address everything. And so that's an initial engagement with our firm. We get your foundational plan in place. But it goes back to my point earlier, which is that you shouldn't just check this off your list as a one-time thing in your life and put it on the shelf to gather dust over the years, because your life is going to grow and change. You'll have more kids, perhaps, or they'll get their license at 16, or you do take that family trip. And so you want to make sure that you're updating it over time. And so some people like the idea of having an attorney on standby that can update their plan at any time, complimentary. And so as part of our membership programs, which is a monthly program, free routine amendments are a cornerstone of that program, and we just allow you to call at any time, and we will update your documents, whether it's switching out a guardian, the order of guardians, whether it's naming new people to serve in the role as trustee or financial power of attorney because someone's passed away, whether it's adding a new child who's been born. We'll do all those complimentary for members. Another nice feature is that we check in with you every year versus every 3 years, which we do for all clients regardless. But we check in with you every year, and we'll sit down with you and fully go through all of our thoughts about what might have happened in the last year and how that could somehow necessitate a change in your plan. We also do member-only events. We'll have speakers come in or have a book review or that type of thing. We've actually got one coming up on January the 27th for members only, so that's an exciting thing that we have going for members. And also, we have a way to upload your documents online. You have your own username and password to access them at any time. And that username and password would go onto your inventory, so that way your family knows how to access it. And the cool thing about that is all your documents are there, but your emergency documents, which are your health care power of attorney and your living will, they're actually going to be available for anyone who has the info on an ID card that we give you to put in your wallet. They'll actually be able to access those at any time through a fax number, an 800 fax number, or going onto the website. So those we upload in a separate place, and they're available in an emergency, which is really helpful to you. If you've done the planning but nobody knows these documents exist, they're not really going to help you out in that emergency situation.
Right. No, so, I thought all those were great things.
Yeah, and we have more benefits than that, but that kind of is where we start. Those are kind of our main cornerstone benefits, and then we build from there. We have 3 different levels of membership depending on what a family prefers.
Right. All right, Bonnie. Well, as always, thank you, and a great job of making us all think about getting a plan together. And so we will be calling you to get our appointment. I promise you that.
Thank you. So, I'm delighted.
Bonnie's number is 720-266-8190 or website willsandwellness.com. Check that out. And folks, get a plan. We all need one, and maybe you haven't looked at yours in a while. Give her a call, 720-266-8190. So, Bonnie, thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Scott. Have a great day.
All right, you too. This is Haystack Help Radio. We're going to take a short break. Be back with more right after this.
Are you paying for broken windows after every round of golf? Are you always yelling 4 to the fairway next to yours? Are you searching in the woods hole after hole? Do you continue to lose every ball in your bag? Do you turn a 4-hour round into 5.5 hours? If you're that guy, or you invited that guy to play with you, you need No Slice. Just put No Slice on your golf club and it will eliminate your slice, guaranteed, or your money back. Enjoy golf again. For more information or to purchase No Slice, go to noslicegolf.com. That's noslicegolf.com.
People make mistakes. We can help. At Jansen Legal, we strongly believe that a good criminal defense engages you as an active team member in your own defense. We understand you are the most vested person in your pending criminal matter, and you will never be treated as a criminal despite what you are being charged with. Don't risk your future and your freedom by facing a criminal charge alone. Call me, Molly Jansen, for a free consultation at 303-832-5400.
Hi, this is Julie Maeta, founder of the Haven Team. As a mom and a homeowner, I know how much work it takes to own your own home. If you are struggling with your mortgage, whether you're barely making payments or are facing foreclosure, the Haven Team can help. My team and I have helped thousands of homeowners stay in their home through a loan modification, and I'm pleased to tell you we have never charged any of our clients a fee. If you need help, call for a free personal consultation at 720-295-HOPE. That's 720-295-4673. At the Haven Team, our homeowner is our number one priority.
Shouldn't a home comfort system make you completely comfortable? At Carrier, our expert dealers are the trusted source for everything you need for home heating and cooling. When you decide to repair or upgrade your home comfort system, your local Carrier dealer can advise you on your air conditioning, heating, and indoor air quality needs. From maintenance to repair to installation, going with a Carrier expert is a decision you'll always take comfort in.
Littleton Heating, Air Conditioning, and Duct Cleaning, 303-798-3880, Denver Metro, HVAC.com.
Going through a divorce can be one of the most difficult and challenging times of your life. Colorado Legal Associates can help guide you through the parenting and child enforcement issues that result in a separation. You need an attorney that understands your needs and can give you the representation you deserve. At Colorado Legal Associates, our attorneys have the experience needed to provide you forceful representation paired with sympathetic support. Call Colorado Legal Associates today for your free consultation. 720-974-9790. That's 720-974-9790.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live.
As long as I live.
My first call-up ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews.
At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Colorado National Guard. Aired by the Colorado Broadcasters Association and this station.
Welcome back to Haystack Health Radio. Our number is 303-477-5600. My name is Scott Whatley. Our next guest, Dr. Craig Burns. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, doing great. Can't wait for my appointment tomorrow.
Yes.
Another
we'll
good
take care
adjustment, and you guys have taken great care of me, so I appreciate that very much. Their number is 303-462-4476, 303-462-4476. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different that probably a lot of us don't think about, but that's kids in chiropractic. And man, you even start before that with pregnant women, right?
Yeah.
You've always promoted that's really, really good for women.
We have a lot of pregnant women in our office for good reason.
Right.
Multiple reasons, but one is to make the delivery process that much easier, but just to keep the body tuned up so as they're growing a beautiful baby inside that it's working as good as it can work, and they can enjoy the process instead of being in pain all day.
No kidding. No kidding. Tell us a little bit about your chiropractic office and you know what you do. For maybe we may have some people that haven't heard you on the show before, so we'll just kind of start at the beginning and just kind of tell people a little bit about you and your office.
Sure. Well, I tell every patient that walks in our door who we are right up front and what we believe in and what we do, and I think that's important. We are a family wellness center. Chiropractic is at the hub of everything that we do, but we do a lot of coaching on fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, ergonomics, you name it. The youngest person I've ever worked with or worked on is a 2-day-old infant who had a very traumatic birth process, as most of us do, all the way up to, I think, the oldest was 98-year-old gentleman, and everybody in between, from car accidents to people that have no pain whatsoever. They just don't want pain, and they've heard chiropractic is a good idea when it comes to prevention and a proactive lifestyle. So we're not really the sports chiropractor, even though we got a lot of athletes, and we're not really just the injury chiropractor, and we have a whole wellness element to our practice as well. So we kind of cover the full spectrum, which means we got a lot of tools in our bag, and we see a lot of different people, and that makes us pretty popular around these parts.
Right. I can't remember the name, but have you heard of that injury that Raheem Moore got of the Broncos?
I have not, no.
Oh, we'll have to look it up on our break. It was some deal, I guess, after the game Sunday night. He woke up, terrific pain in a leg. They took him to the hospital, had to have surgery, and it's some kind of lateral compartment syndrome or something was the name of it. And nobody had ever heard it. Jack Del Rio said he had to write it down to even give the proper name. But yeah,
I do know a lot about compartment syndromes. We have a lot of that stuff coming into our practice. That's where something gets tight, injured, inflamed, swollen, and things start shutting down, whether it's blood flow or nerve flow.
Yeah, and they said it could lead to loss of limb.
Oh, yeah.
Or loss of life. I mean, it was a pretty serious. He just had surgery, yeah. Now, are you starting to see, because, I mean, when I started going to chiropractic, I never saw a child at a chiropractic office. Are you starting to see that more with kids coming in?
Society is starting to catch on. It's a slow process. I'm starting to see what's happening in my profession, chiropractically speaking, is what's already transpired in dentistry. People have learned to be proactive. They know the benefits. They know the consequences of being proactive or not being proactive. And I think people, family, parents are finally catching on that a lot of our problems as adults do stem from childhood. In some part, if not a large part. So I think wise parents are starting to figure out, well, this might be a good idea just to check it out and explore it and see what I might be missing, or maybe there's something we should be doing with little Johnny or little Sally, before they become an adult with chronic back pain or chronic headaches. So yeah, we're starting to see a lot more kids, more and more every year.
Why do you think parents haven't done that in the past?
I think there's two basic reasons. It's lack of awareness, and of course there's always the fear factor. People just don't. I meet with a lot of people who say, "You see kids here? I would never think that you would do that." And then we go through the process of educating them on why you would want to do that. And there's multiple reasons for that. So just general lack of awareness that if you have a spine and you're walking around and you're falling down all day long, or you're sitting down at IBM all day long, it might be a good idea to go to a chiropractor. But of course, there's fear factor. I mean, people think that the popping of this or that can be traumatic, but I think it's important to point out right off the bat that you adjust kids and you adjust infants certainly different than you would treat an adult. They just don't need the pressure. They haven't had the problem as long, so it's more of a gentle, guided massage or pressure, directed pressure into the area of the problem, and that's all it takes in order to correct a problem that could potentially be a big deal later on. So it's just fear. Everybody's popping noises. Oh, man, I hate that cracking in the neck.
Have you ever done that in a kid? Go, ah!
Well, yeah. My dad was the worst, actually. He jumped off the table and kind of smiled, let out a hoot, and then laid back down and said, all right, let's do the other side.
Right.
But people fear, what they don't understand. What we need to do is just get past that. We need to understand that being proactive is the secret. It is the fountain of youth to taking care of yourself and preserving your health and preventing disease. So the sooner you can start teaching families and friends to be proactive, the better.
Right.
That starts in childhood.
And a term we hear a lot very easily is a family doctor. Or they go, we go to our family dentist. But you rarely hear the term family chiropractic, and that would be a good thing for people to have.
Exactly. Well, we're starting to teach a lot of people in this community that is the concept. In fact, I have many families who consider me their doctor, their only doctor. I'm the primary doctor. I'm the guy they go to see on a regular basis to stay well. But then, of course, they have their family physician when there's crisis and emergency. So we kind of have it flip-flopped. We usually go to the wrong type of doctor to restore health and prevent issues when they don't have that kind of training. I'm the guy you go see when we're trying to fine-tune the nutrition or the supplement process or fix the posture or get rid of the kink or the slip and fall off the monkey bars. If it's traumatic, don't come see me. That's what the emergency, clinics are for.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mostly see? And we'll take kids maybe now from, 6 to 12 or whatever. Or 6 to 15. What are some of the things you see with kids?
I think one of the most chronic issues, most consistent issues we see, and I really want to urge parents to take this seriously, is headaches. A lot of kids have headaches, and they don't have the vocabulary to articulate exactly what's wrong and what this means to them. Oftentimes they just struggle through the day and go on to the next. The average neurologist, the honest neurologist, will tell you that the average human being should have no more than a dozen headaches in any given year. So we're starting to find out that everybody's got headaches. So now we're starting to think that it's normal. That's a part of being alive. It's not. Any kid that has a couple headaches or more in a month, that's usually an indication that something's not right. Something needs to be addressed, corrected, fixed, just tended to. So that's one of the most common things. Then we got a lot of kids with amazingly stiff necks these days. It's phenomenal to me that people so young can be so tight. So I urge parents to just look out for that. Kids will tell you if their neck's tight, or you can kind of poke and prod, and if they want to run away because it hurts, that might be a problem. Take them to somebody.
Right. And too, a lot of kids are in sports today, and again, they don't verbalize a lot like we would, and so getting if kids are active, involved in sports, that's another good reason to get them in, too. And not that they have to be, but I'm just saying that's a good reason to get them in, too, right?
Yeah, I played sports as a kid. I'm sure you did, too. But it seems like the level's gone up a bit. It's a little more intense around here. And we're playing compression sports at an earlier and earlier age. Back in the day, it used to be a little more touch and flag football. Now we got kids going to camps and learning how to hit harder and do all kinds of crazy stuff to their body. And it takes a toll. Absolutely.
303-462-4476 is the number to Maximize Health Chiropractic. Again, I've been there, been through several visits, going back tomorrow. Misunderstood my appointment for this morning. That was my fault. And but going to go back tomorrow. And really, no matter what your age is, and again, everybody that I've talked to since we started doing these shows, and I ask them, do you have a chiropractor? Yeah, it's just a guy in the neighborhood. And I said, well, why do you go to him? Or her? Well, it's close, and I'm in and out, and 8 to 10 minutes. I'm like, so is that really the whole deal behind who you chose? Pretty much.
Yeah. Everybody does tend to go with convenience these days. And I'm always trying to urge people to go with quality over convenience. It always trumps it. Yes.
No doubt. Now, is there a particular type of chiropractor that you think parents should look for? Now, first of all, I'll say they should look for you. And that's what we're totally endorsing you. But, what type of chiropractor? Because not all are the same.
Correct.
We both know that.
There's so many different types of lawyers and medical doctors in the world. There's just a lot of different kinds of chiropractors in the world. So you kind of want to be a little educated and know what to look for. To try to give a listener maybe some buzzwords to look for, or when they're interviewing over the phone, you want to look for a family chiropractor. Do you see a lot of kids? Do you see a lot of kids often? Do you see a lot of kids daily? You want to go to see somebody. You want to go see somebody that does this often, so that they're good at it just through the process of repetition. Wellness. Does your office do wellness? Can they teach my family how to take care of my family? Obviously you don't take a child necessarily to just a sports chiropractor or the car accident chiropractor down the street. You want to go to a family-based, wellness-based chiropractic clinic like ours, where we look at the whole human being from top to bottom, and we try to do the best job we can, whether they're very young or very old.
And then nutrition I know is a big part of your program as well.
That's a huge thing for us. I love teaching parents how to look at the fads that are coming through the TV screen and magazine articles on trying to tell them what to feed their kid and the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts. There's a lot of junk out there. And we try to just get parents grounded in simple nutritional principles that are tried and true, and they're not costly. And kids will like them, and you can train your kid to eat better, but you just have to have a strategy for it. So we do a lot of coaching on nutrition. We do a lot of coaching on child supplements. We got programs where we can teach parents how to get their children on good supplements for up to 3 years for next to nothing, if not free, which is fantastic. So we love teaching parents how to feed their children.
Our guest, Dr. Craig Burns, Maximize Health Chiropractic. Their number, 303-462-4476. Give them a call. Get in there. Get healthy. Make this the end of the year where next year you're going to feel a lot better. Our number, 303-477-5600. If you have any questions for Dr. Burns, give us a call. This is Haystack Help Radio.
Early retirement, changing jobs. Hi, I'm Dot Mecklenburg, president of Dot Mecklenburg, Inc. Section 72T of the IRS Code says as long as you take substantially equal payments from your IRA for 5 years or until age 59 and a half, whichever is greater, you will not be penalized 10% for early withdrawal. For a free consultation, call me today at 303-647-1948 or visit me at my website, dotmecklenburg.com.
Dot Mecklenburg Financial Services is an official company of Haystack Help and an A-plus member of the Better Business Bureau. Securities and advisory services offered through Genios Wealth Management, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
What's the most common problem for golfers? It's the slice. If you want to get rid of your slice, you need No Slice. No Slice was tested by Golf Laboratories, a facility that conducts robotic testing for the golf industry, and the results were amazing. No Slice will eliminate your slice and increase your distance, guaranteed, or your money back. Simply apply No Slice to your golf club for longer, straighter shots and no more lost golf balls. Enjoy golf again. For more information or to purchase No Slice, go to NoSlicegolf.com. That's NoSliceGolf.com.
Have you been involved in an auto accident, slip and fall, or any other personal injury? I'm Kevin Flesh with Flesh Law, and I've been protecting victims' rights for over 17 years. If you want aggressive representation that will get you the money you deserve, then call me at 303-884-1037 or visit my website at fleshlaw.com. That's Flesh, F-L-E-S-C-H. I will give you the personal service you deserve, starting with a free consultation. Call me 303-884-1037 or visit me at fleshlaw.com.
It's closeout time here at Len Lyle Chevrolet, and if you give us a chance, you won't be sorry. We have the guaranteed lowest prices, highest trade-in values, and the quickest and easiest buying experience ever. Go east and pay the least. Len Lyle Chevrolet, I-225 in East Colfax, or lenlylechevy.com.
What are some things you look for, Dave, when trying to find a deal on a house?
Dave Ramsey.
Well, I'm looking for seller motivation more than anything, and or seller apathy. Sometimes a bank, when I'm buying from a bank, I'm dealing with seller apathy. They're not highly motivated. They just don't give a rip. And so I can, sometimes I can get a good deal from a bank. Sometimes I can't. But I'm looking for a price is what I'm after. I'm looking for a steal. I want a great bargain. Money in real estate is made at the purchase. And then the second thing I'm looking for that could be a deal killer even if price is there is I want the location to be there. I want a good location. The old appraisal class I went to many, many years ago when I was 18 years old and I just got in the real estate business, I went in and the first thing out of the appraisal, the professor's mouth was there are 3 things that establish market value of a home. A piece of real estate. Location, location, and location. And so what's the location of the home?
The Dave Ramsey Show. Noon to 3 p.m.
on legendary KLZ 560 The Source.
Welcome back to Haystack Help Radio. My name is Scott Whatley. Our guest, Dr. Craig Burns, Maximize Health Chiropractic. Our number, 303-477-5600. If you have any questions for the good doctor, now's a great time to call. Now, I just learned something before we were going back on. Your personal story of breaking your back as a kid.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting story. Try to be quick with it, but it does teach a lesson as well. and it's what lesson I try to teach as many parents as I possibly can. I did break my back when I was about 11 years old. You know, we were playing tag, running around the yards and stuff, and I'm a very competitive guy, so I'd do anything to get away, not get tagged. So I jumped over a very high fence, and a reflex kicked in, and I did a high jump move, and I landed on my back and bounced on the ground a couple times, and I actually ended up breaking several ligaments in my lower spine along with a bone. So I didn't know it at the time. I was screaming on the ground, and you know, my parents were from a small town, so you know, it's kind of that wait and see approach.
Get up, boy, I'll tell you when you're hurt.
Yeah. It hurt for a while, as best as I can tell, and then looking back, I have some moments where I was running around the house and I could feel electrical shocks going down the legs, and kids are kids, and we don't know how to articulate to parents that this is serious. Take me somewhere, please. You know, and parents are parents. They get busy, you know, and we rub some dirt on it mentality. You know, if it's not an emergency, we can't take you to the hospital. So it is what it is. And about 16 years later, I got an X-ray, and they told me you must have broken your back as a kid. This is a very serious issue. So it's something I learned to manage now as an adult. I really don't have back pain, even though I'm a chiropractor, lifting heavy people all day long and moving people around. But it proves a point that most of our problems as adults usually do start as kids. Maybe they're not as traumatic as mine, but OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health, they say that the average child will fall 2,000 plus times before they hit puberty, and those falls are significant enough to cause trauma to the spine that, if not treated properly, will come and get you later on in life. So I'm a firm believer that most of the problems that we suffer from, 30, 40, 50 years old, and unfortunately we start chalking up to just getting old.
Sure.
These are old injuries from childhood that just never got cared for properly at all. So again, a big proponent of teaching parents, even if your child's not complaining, at least get a checkup. Maybe there's something that happened a year ago from that fall or slip that is still there. And if we get in there and do something positive now, it can prevent a host of issues later on down the road.
Right. Let's talk about some of your recent success stories.
Sure. One of my favorites is a little guy named Andrew. Can't tell you his whole name, of course, but Andrew had ADD, ADHD, which is a very common thing these days. And what do we do with that now? We medicate him, right? It's kind of sad because in a lot of instances, this is a neurological condition that's stemming from a spinal condition. And that was the case for Andrew. He had a really funky neck. It was not right. It was not normal, and you could see it plain as day on an X-ray. This kid was about 9 years old, and just crazy. Just the kid was always freaking out. He wouldn't pay attention, wouldn't listen to anybody, had way too much energy, etc. It took me about the better part of maybe 3 months working with this kid's neck. We fine-tuned the nutrition only a little bit, so that's kind of an important thing to mention. We didn't change much other than just adjust his spine and try to take the pressure off his nervous system, allow his brain to work better. That ADHD diagnosis was lifted. He was taken off all of his Ritalin. That's one of the coolest things that we do in the practice, is actually set the stage for the next couple decades to be far healthier than you could imagine just by doing the right thing to the body. One other one that just came in recently was this tiny little boy who had massive constipation. He was just backed up horrible, crying, colicky. The kid was miserable. And he'd been to everybody, a lot of different people, and one of our associate doctors, he's a real specialist when it comes to kids. He was just working on the child, and immediately the kid let go and the bowels started moving, and mom was just ecstatic.
Hopefully not too immediately.
It wasn't too messy.
Okay.
It was definitely more of a reason for celebration, especially from mom's standpoint.
Imagine, yeah.
Because it hasn't happened in days, and her kid was miserable, and she didn't know what to do. She was at her wit's end, and who would have thunk that you'd take this type of condition to a chiropractor?
Right.
But yeah, it worked, and now we're working on the kid's nutrition and a few other issues that he has. So we're setting the stage for the next couple of decades to be wildly healthy. So, and then there's just the common stiff neck, back, headache stuff I love working with. There's the ear infections and the asthma and the bedwetting, things you just wouldn't think you'd normally take a kid to a chiropractor for. But if it's a neurological-based issue or problem that's stemming from the spine, putting stress on the nerves, nobody else on the planet is going to better solve that problem than a chiropractor.
Wow.
It's a pretty cool concept.
No
So it's
kidding.
more than just back pain. It's about actually setting the stage for the body to heal itself, to promote health, to promote energy. It's a real cool thing to be doing all day.
Now, you mentioned ear infections.
Yeah.
Take just a second and tell us how the...
Well, you know, we only have so much time, right? But I would encourage any listener just to Google chiropractic comma, ear infections. And you'll come up with a lot of really good stories told from the patient's perspective. You can go to the Pediatric Council online for chiropractic and look that up. But the tubes in the ears and the way things get congested and muscles get tight and the posture in the head gets twisted, it changes how those tubes drain.
Right.
And you throw an antibiotic at that, and yeah, you might clear up the infection in that moment, but guess what happens about a couple months later? Another infection, another infection. And if you try to create or solve a physical, neurological problem with a chemical solution, you usually never find the cure. You'll usually end up putting tubes in the ears, which is kind of sad because there's no coming back from that. So there's a lot of wise people out there that have already learned this, and at the first instinct that they have an ear infection, they take their kid to the chiropractor. Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, as far as car accident deal, I know you deal with that a lot too. What are some of the tips that you have for people from car accidents? Because sometimes I think if, you have an accident, they go, well, I'm not bleeding, yeah, I'm stiff for a couple of days or whatever. But, I mean, we really recommend, and we have a personal injury attorney, Kevin Flesh, that's here on Fridays, seek medical attention immediately, because you never know. And my personal deal was back in Thanksgiving Day of 1985, I was living in Dallas. The Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving Day. We were going to a Cowboy game, and we got rear-ended right there by the stadium. That was Thanksgiving Day of 85, January of 88. I had a fusion in my neck from that accident. So getting in to see someone like you, even after, and you don't have to be going 50 miles an hour. I mean, a 10 or 15 mile an hour.
5. Research says 5 miles per hour or more is enough to cause damage to the human body. And you might, again, pain might recede in 2, 3, 4 weeks. Who knows? Doesn't mean the damage is gone. So, I'm kind of tired of it, but it's a passion of mine of putting people back together. Unfortunately, people get in car accidents 20 years ago. They heal, but then they come to see me 20 years later to actually fix the damage that has been going on behind the scenes all that time. So 5 miles per hour or more, doesn't matter how you feel, always go get a checkup. Good chiropractors know where to look for the damage. They'll usually find it, and they can usually fix it. And yes, kids, stay on the topic of kids, right? Kids don't know how to articulate how they feel after a car accident. So if you ever have a child in a car accident, you should always go to the chiropractor as soon as possible to have that child assessed to see what might have happened and do we need to be concerned here.
Okay. Now, give us some recommendations for our listeners.
A good recommendation is just to start changing the way we think. Einstein said it best. We can't solve problems with the same line of thinking as when we develop the problem. So society is kind of stuck in this position of, we're not aging all that well, Modern medical science is figuring out how to prolong life, but it's not producing a good quality of life necessarily. So we need to figure out how to be more proactive. I would just encourage people to think about chiropractic just like they do dentistry. When kids start to develop the teeth, you go to a dentist. You know how to do that. You know why to do that. You know what happens if you don't do that. We should apply that same line of thinking to chiropractic, the bones of the back, the spine, and the nerves, and the posture. These children are getting banged around all the time, playing sports, falling off of things, wrestling with each other, and those have consequences later on. But the sooner we can find stuff, the easier it is and faster it is to fix it. So it's about changing a paradigm, changing the way we think about taking care of our bodies, our kids, being proactive. And I'll tell you, one of the coolest things I get to see every day is watch a whole family come into the clinic, because I know that a lot more than treatment is transpiring there. I'm actually watching a child watch their parents. This is the habit that my mom and dad do. They go to the chiropractor. This is how we take care of our body. There's a lot of psychological stuff going on there that's setting the stage for how that child's going to take care of their body 40 years from now.
Sure.
So some of the coolest families I ever get to interact with are the people that their parents took them to the chiropractor since they were a kid. And they think very different. They think around problems. They think for themselves. They're problem solvers. They're very proactive. And they're usually pretty healthy for the most part.
Right. You got a special offer for a consultation and an exam for them?
We always have that. I took the next couple weeks and I blocked off a couple slots. So we took at least 8 and said anybody that calls from the show, give them a free evaluation. It's on us. It's pro bono. It's complimentary. So just if the child has any recurring or pattern complaints at all, free checkup. If you've had an opinion from a pediatrician and you're not quite sure whether you want to do this or that, free checkup. There's nothing to be lost. Yeah.
303-462-4476. Take advantage of this very generous and great offer. 303-462-4476. MaximizeHealth.net is a website. It's Maximize Health Chiropractic and Dr. Craig Burns. Once again, thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Can't wait to get in to see you tomorrow and let you take care of me. So
All right.
I look forward to that. I want to thank you for joining us. We love having good guests on like Dr. Burns. We have great companies at HaystackHelp.com. You'll find contractors, attorneys, financial, real estate. You'll find everything you need there. Our helpline, 303-333-HELP, 303-333-4357.